Hey, welcome in. We've got another episode of the Y Ball Starters for you all. I am here with my co-hosts, John and Kendall. As I always must know, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Just researching Blazers plays and getting hyped for the new season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I am researching Blazers plays, but for the segment that I did not do any research for before the show. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Kendall is quitting on us, it appears. So, I mean, we appear to have an opening at the Y Ball Starters, which is good news for all of your fans.
Yep. All of you subscribers, you could become a Patreon if you buy your way in. Well, John and Kendall have alluded to it a little bit. Today, what we are going to be doing for the majority of today's episode, we're going to kind of rip off JJ Redick's Old Man in the Three podcast by doing a draft. We've done this before way back several months ago with all-time Blazers, where we drafted our all-time Blazers plays and Kendall picked Steve Blake to be his starting point guard. We'll see what other kind of decisions Kendall and John and myself too make today with today's version of the draft. And that is going to be Blazers plays of the last 10 years roughly. We're saying roughly because we're allowing ourselves to go back to the start of 2011 because there are some great and honestly historical Blazers plays from there. Because it's plays, we're going to draft 10 each and it shouldn't take too long. But, you know, it's a podcast episode and we can kind of elaborate and roast each other for our truly horrible picks. Before we get into that, basketball season is here. Training camp is well underway and the preseason started last night. Unfortunately, the Blazers dropped to the Warriors 121-107, but you know, it's a preseason game. Coaching debut for Chauncey Billups. There seems to be a lot of energy with the team so far through camp so far this year, guys.
Yeah, so definitely. Far. Yeah, so far. I will say I was very shocked, but although I shouldn't have really been, at the lack of morale after last night's crushing preseason loss to the Golden State Warriors in Jordan Poole's 30-point.
The season is over.
The season's over. Why even start the regular season if you can't win the preseason? You know,
shut it down. Trade Dame.
I mean, it's not like we have a new coach or new players to implement or anything. I mean, you know, that's just kind of that's off the record.
We got like 100 games to go. Like, chill, guys.
Wow. Okay, now that's kind of generous because that's saying that we're getting pretty deep into the playoffs.
I mean, with like preseason games, I mean, we've definitely got like 90.
I think because
there's like there's eight. There's like eight preseason. There's like 8 preseason games this year.
I think there's only 3.
Do we like not play any preseason games? Like, I know last year there weren't many, but I'm pretty sure there's like 8. It goes into October.
I'm gonna do some research on this real fast.
Yeah, check up on that. I'll talk about the Blazers.
There are 3 more preseason games.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yes.
All right, Kendall. Thanks for doing the research.
I was surprised.
Probably about 90 games left, at least. That's if we make the playoffs and get swept. Which.
Hey, not bad. That's pretty good.
A possibility. What did you guys kind of think though of last night? Because personally, I was okay with how he played, considering new coach, new system. I liked the way Ant played at the point guard. I thought he looked a lot more comfortable than the past couple seasons. Nas kind of did underwhelm me, but at the same time, it's a preseason game, new system. People, you got to take that into account.
Yeah. Honestly, I was telling I texted this to both of you, like, it was kind of funny. They didn't seem to know how to pass the ball so much. Like, they were very conscious of trying to move the ball, and like they would move it in ways where it'd be like, all right, guys, like, what are you doing there? Because they were not used to passing the ball. Which, like, I think it's going to be clunky for a while, but like, I mean, they look like they're committed to moving the ball like how Golden State does. And you even saw last night, like, Golden State was whipping that around. They were humming for our preseason. That was crazy. So, I mean, overall, I think Portland really played well, and especially they stopped playing Dame and CJ in the second half. So, like, when Dame and CJ were playing, they really were like everyone was playing well. So, I mean, there's a lot to work on, but I think it's going to be kind of clunky on offense when they as they're learning to pass the ball.
Yeah, and also it was a preseason game in which Golden State shot 69 threes. So if they're just going to check them up, then, have at it. Wins and losses do not matter in the preseason. It's just about getting that chemistry rolling. I thought Norman Powell looked really good, to be honest. And obviously this is the first full off season of him here in Portland, which I think is going to really make a pretty marked difference, especially on offense and on defense a little bit too. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I really liked how Yusuf Nurkic looked.
Yeah.
15 and 10 in 23 minutes, which is great stats, 4 assists. He hit 2 of his 4 threes, and he's a player that probably has the most to gain from the new head coaching hire of Chauncey Billups, and that showed out last night. If he can stay healthy, engaged, both mentally and physically, we've said it before on this podcast, but I think Nurkic is going to have a fantastic season if those factors play in, like I mentioned, with the new coach.
I mean, the dude kind of plays like Jokic light, and for some reason they've been trying to make him Clint Capella, which is like, what are we doing, guys? He can do so much more. So it seems that like he really is going to be finding more of a role, which is really good for him.
Yeah, I think the important thing, if I'm looking for anything over the last 3 games of the preseason, is just improvement with turnovers, because I noticed that I did miss the first quarter, but even through the rest of the game, there were a lot of turnovers. And again, that has to do with, like you guys mentioned, this is a team that's not used to passing the ball. They're used to keeping it in their point guards' hands and letting them do their magic and get a few kickouts. That's really what their offense have been predated. Wow, I can't speak. Predated on.
Predatory.
What it used to be.
Yes, that. Anyways, with the new system in, I would like to see, though, improvements in decreased turnovers over the next few games heading into the season. And that's something that's going to have to be worked through in the regular season as well. Don't expect it to be just clean all of a sudden come first game against the Kings on October 20th.
What? It won't be?
No. But I will say I was also encouraged. I know it was kind of hit or miss with the bench, especially Nas kind of struggled shooting, like you mentioned, this year a little. Larry Nance didn't really do a ton in the stat sheet, at least. But Cody Zeller played well, I thought. Dennis Smith Jr. had a good game. Obviously, you mentioned Anthony Simons looked fantastic and really improved as a primary ball handler instead of an off-ball shooter. So that was really encouraging to me, actually, was, Nasir Little has been getting raved about since the start of training camp as almost consensus. Oh, this is the guy that's really stood out in camp from the coaching staff and the players. And, you'll have games where you just aren't shooting well, but he had 8 rebounds still. Obviously the 5 turnovers were kind of a problem, but he can get that together. He can contribute. Obviously Larry Nance will contribute. You know what you're going to get from him. If Zeller can get 8 and 7 off the bench in 13 minutes, that's fantastic. Honestly. Yeah. Even if the stats aren't there, like we as Blazer fans know better than anyone, having last 2 seasons, our centers be Enes Kanter and Hassan Whiteside, that stats do not mean everything.
That is true.
And I think Zeller is going to actually be a pretty solid backup center who could start if Nurkic got hurt. Not ideally, obviously, but I think he's a very serviceable backup big.
Yeah. Zeller looks like a starter. Like, honestly, he's a starter. Like, we were lucky to get him at the price we got, like, for a vet minimum. That's crazy. And if I'm making a guess based on one game, which is apparently a 5th of preseason, Dennis Smith Jr. probably is the last spot. Like, there was a lot of them coaching him and a lot of the players coming to him and like seeming to work with him, which just seems like I feel like that means that he's going to be finding a spot on the team. Just because it seems like they have the bigs. I don't know. They don't have I guess they don't have like a point guard assurance where if they rest Dame, they don't have a point guard outside of Anthony. I mean, and CJ. So I don't know. They seem to be working with him a lot, which is really interesting.
I noticed that too. And obviously Patterson and Quinn Cook were DNP coaches' decisions.
Yeah.
And I don't think CJ Ellaby's spot is safe, to be honest. He love the guy. I don't think he's an NBA player at this point. Maybe
he does not look good.
The rest, but I don't think that's safe. No. And Keldon Blevins is probably going to spend most of the season in the D League, you would imagine. So I think you're right, John. I think DSJ has a pretty good chance of making the roster, actually.
So who would be the second guy you think would make if Ellaby doesn't make it?
Chris, probably. Chris looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
He would make the most sense roster.
He looked like an NBA player.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he has experience. He just hasn't been
Yeah.
able to stick really.
And not to say
He
that
kinda
he's not the guy
struggles.
over DSJ either.
True. Well, the Blazers will continue the preseason. Excuse me, I'm pulling up the schedule.
I think
Monday,
the 13th.
October 11th against Sacramento Kings at home, and then
Yes.
they'll close out
The 11th.
with
Wow.
road games at Phoenix and Golden State. So
They don't play
kind of
for
an
a while.
interesting, kind of an interesting preseason deal this year that the NBA did with like one game really early on in camp and then like another break for practices. I don't honestly have a problem with it. Give them a game to see what you have a week to work on and hone it down, and then get a few games to get your rhythm going, and then hop into the regular season. Well, we are going to try to get our rhythm going with our draft. And this is going to be a fun draft. In case you missed the intro somehow, we're going to be drafting 10 plays to specify plays, not moments, plays of the last 10 plus years, start of 2011. Snake draft order like you do with your fantasy football folks or fantasy basketball, or what JJ Redick does. We randomly spun a wheel that was not rigged at all. I have first pick. Kendall has second. John has third, and then we snake. So John will pick first in the second round. And we'll just be going through 10 plays, maybe giving an explanation for why. Are you guys ready for this draft? Again, start of 2011 to through present day.
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And that puts me on the clock. There are two plays for me to choose from here that are very obvious because we have a player that has hit 2 game-winning buzzer-beating threes to win playoff series. No other player in NBA history, by the way, has done that outside of Damian Lillard. And I'm going to be honest, this one wasn't the longest one, but I think the most important play, just in terms of launching his career and kind of the trajectory of this Blazers team, was the Houston play. So for my number one pick, I am going to take Damian Lillard 0.9 over Chandler Parsons to beat Houston in the 2014 playoffs.
Kendall catches a break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was either that or the one that I'm going to pick, which is the OKC shot, because I mean, that was also arguably, I mean, you really could go either way for the first two, either the Houston shot or the OKC shot. And I mean, he took the Houston. I'll take OKC.
Oh, well, I guess I won't get to choose a series winner. For my first pick, the first play that came to mind for me is, I mean, when you think of highlights, like you see game winners, you see two options, basically game winners or some sort of spectacular play. And I think the one like most spectacular play that Portland has done in the last 10 years was Thomas Robinson had a block against, I want to say, Corey Brewer. That's led to Barton alley-oop, so I'm going to choose that.
Yes.
That play was very hyped for like the middle of the regular season.
For a random game, like a random blowout too.
Mike and Mike were going crazy during it.
Oh,
everyone was. It was amazing. It was one of the best blocks I've ever seen. Like it was crazy
like play of the month on NBA.
Yeah,
like on NBA.
The whole play.
And now John gets to start the second round with 2 picks in a row.
And the second pick is going to be, it's kind of, I don't trust that I'm going to get another chance to pick it. That's why I'm picking it. Like, I feel like too early, but it's the first play I ever listened to Portland on the radio. It was Nicholas Batum had an alley-oop with 0.9 seconds left.
God dang it.
So yeah, I remember he got a steal and was fouled on a fast break, hit 2 free throws, and then I want to say Ginobili was throwing it in. He just skied it and totally missed the dude. And so then they were able to throw a back screen. So Batum scored twice in less than a second. It was crazy.
Gosh dang it. That's the play I wanted.
I know. That's why I was like, I got to do it at 4.
All right, Kendall, you are next up for your second round pick.
I think I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Brandon Roy's 4-point play versus Dallas in the playoffs. I mean, that was just such a big moment for Brandon Roy, kind of getting like right at the end of his unfortunate early prime. And that game just meant so much to him and the city. And that was kind of the highlight play from that comeback win versus Dallas.
Yeah, I would have picked that probably if you hadn't taken that. Well, I've got 2 in a row, and I've got some options here. It is kind of tricky. The first one I'm actually going to do is Damian Lillard's tying 3 this year's playoffs. Obviously, there's a ton to choose from. He had 12 threes in Game 5 against Denver. The one I'm going to go with was the one that happened in the first overtime, where he spun at the top of the key and kind of faded away over the outstretched arms of the defender to tie the game. And at that point, that was the one that sent NBA Twitter into just a frenzy where it's like, what is happening? This is unreal.
He's crazy.
That one was crazy.
So I'm going to take that one to close out the second round. After that, second defensive play of this draft so far, I'm going to take Wesley Matthews' steal against Houston in Game 4 when he stripped Patrick Beverley. I think Portland was up like 3 at the time. Houston had a possession, and Wesley Matthews stripped Patrick Beverley at half court. That was a huge play. Obviously,
huge.
So I'm going to take Wesley Matthews steal.
Yeah.
That's how they went up 3-1, right?
Yeah, it was. So that will start the third round. Kendall, you can continue the third round.
I think I'm going to go with Damian Lillard's another game winner. This one over Cleveland early in his career, kind of beginning that trend of the Dame time. That's kind of what got it going. And Cleveland was one of the games that kind of kickstarted that for Dame in his young career.
I'm really curious to see how many of these 30 end up being Damian Lillard plays or game winners.
It's going to be a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
John, you've got 2 in a row.
Wow. This is tough. This is where plays are all like at a very even level for me, to be honest. I think
it's kind of subjective.
The first one I'm going to go with is partially for the call. Is I have Dame's dunk on Rudy Gobert, and then Mike's call of Gobert, you're a poster. It's so good.
That was a legitimately great play. So
he
not a scrub pick.
Oh yeah. So sorry, I'm writing it down. But this is where it gets and I think that and next one I'm going to do is I'm going to go really throwback. There's a play I saw where Martell Webster steals the ball from Chauncey Billups. And he throws a pass, and there's a little note from Mike that Andre Miller catches the pass and dunks, and it's his first dunk in 3 seasons. And if you know Andre Miller, that's 100% true. It's insane to watch him do a wide open dunk. So gotta put that play on there.
So John with 2 Andre Miller plays in this draft so far.
We love to see it.
Kendall, middle of the 4th round.
I'm gonna go with when CJ juked out Dirk.
Good play.
That one was funny. You had Aminu kicked out. I'm watching it right now. CJ with just that nasty crossover fadeaway 3 gets Dirk all spun around.
John, were you and I at that game?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
that was awesome. We were going crazy.
Oh,
that was a lot of fun.
Been so much fun to be at. That would have been fun to be
in a row for me. Interesting. Well, I guess I'll keep up my turn with defense. I'm going to take CJ's block against Denver on Jamal Murray.
Yeah, that play's awesome.
Yep.
Obviously, that helped Portland keep the momentum in Game 7 on the road. So hard to get much bigger than that, at least at that point in the game, even though there were still like 4 minutes left. But that would have been transition points for Denver. So in that sense, it was a very important play. And then if I can just pat on the Dame game winners, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take his recovering the loose ball off the jump ball last season against Chicago and drilling the game winner.
Oh,
Yeah.
He has so many. Like, that was one that I honestly kind of didn't even think about. Am I right?
I know.
That game was crazy. I remember just like watching it to the end because I just like to watch sports games to the end.
Mhm.
And like I like did not believe they had a chance until that jump ball. And I was like, what is happening? Like how like they were down like 15 with like 3 minutes left. It was so insane.
Yeah, that one was one where, like, obviously in the playoffs, I went crazy both times. Some of his other game winners, I'm like, let's go. Other like plays like CJ's block. The one against Chicago was so like sudden and wild. I like it. I didn't celebrate as much as I was like, oh, what the heck? We won.
Yeah,
What
it
in
was
the
like
world?
he was like, oh, he got it. And then I was like, well, if he's shooting it, he's obviously gonna make this. And then he like
Right.
made it, of course.
Right.
I was like,
It's
as soon as he
just
like got the ball, I was
crazy.
like, oh cool, we won, I guess.
All right.
Who'd
Kendall.
you say who was doing the jump ball? Is Levine versus
Levine versus
was it Trent?
It was like Gary Trent or something. Yeah.
I
was
think it
one
was
Lev-
Gary.
It was one that like Levine definitely should have won. It was super weird.
Yeah, I don't know how that one happened. This one I just pulled up while you guys were talking, and I think I'm gonna include it because it's funny. It was against Los Angeles, the Lakers back, I think 2-3 years ago. And you had Mo Harkless hitting a game winner 3-point shot in the corner against the Lakers, which is the most random thing. Mo Harkless hitting a game winner. Like,
Send him
I don't
home,
know.
Mo.
Headband Mo out here just
Headband
chilling.
Mo, baby.
Ninja Headband Mo was elite. I
Oh.
remember going to game 1 against the Thunder, and he had 5 blocks in the first quarter, like against Paul George. It was insane.
That's so great. John, close out the 5th round for us. That'll mark the halfway point of this draft and
All right.
get us into the 6th round as well.
Well, I think to close out this one, I think it's my turn to choose a Dame game winner. And I'll choose this one over Brandon Ingram.
That was a heck of a shot. That one's underrated, honestly.
It's such a like picturesque shot, like the highlight, the courtside angle TNT has. It's just, and the call by Kevin Harlan. It's perfect. It's such a good shot. And that means I needed to choose another one again.
Mhm.
Interesting. I have a sleeper pick, but I don't want to pick it yet. Another play that I'm going to choose is it's another regular season one, but it's one I remember because we beat the Warriors back when no one was beating the Warriors. And it was a broken play. Lillard got a steal and he like loses he comes around behind the hoop looking to pass, and then he loses the ball and kind of just chucks it to, it's either Harkless or Aminu in the corner. And then they give it back and he hits a 3 with like 2 seconds left to win the game. And like they beat the Warriors on the road, and I'm pretty sure everyone was playing. So it was kind of a little crazy play or a crazy game.
Yeah, not bad. 2 back-to-back Dame game winners. So far, if
Yeah.
I can put a pause on this, Kendall, before you pick, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of our roughly 15, 16 plays have been Damian Lillard game winning or tying shots.
Oh man, that's wild. Well,
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I feel bad. I kind of gotta go with the Dame trend though for my pick, because
I wouldn't feel
that
bad
shot
about that.
he's just got so many, especially since over the last decade. Like the only
That's
other ones really
crazy.
are a few plays here and there, and then obviously in the Aldridge era, you've got some plays in there.
Mhm.
But for me, his shot off the back of the rim versus Dallas,
Yeah, in the bubble.
that was just wild. You almost never see that happen. It just showed how hot he was that game.
That shooter's touch is crazy.
How many points did he have that game?
That was a 61, right?
That was a
Is
60.
that the 60?
Was
He
it
was
that or the
stupid
Nets?
good in the bubble. He was
Yeah.
stupid good.
He was averaging what, like 47 in the bubble, like
Something
some
like that,
absurd
yeah.
of number.
I don't know what it was with the bubble, but there were so many guys who played well between him, Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell,
Jimmy Butler,
yeah,
TJ
Jimmy
Warren.
Butler. Yeah,
TJ
TJ. It's kind
Bubble
of
Warren.
weird. I wonder if it has something to do with just the fact that the gym is just so much smaller that it just helps shooters out. Maybe not having the crowd as a distraction. I don't know, but guys are
teams
balling.
really seem to be able to lock in more than they would have been. So I wonder if just not being able to have a life also kind of helped.
Yeah, probably.
In
Yeah,
that
maybe.
aspect. I mean, obviously it's
Yeah.
not really sustainable in any way, but
Right. Well, to close out the 6th round, I am going to continue my trend of important shots in the playoffs. I'm going to take LaMarcus Aldridge's tip in game 1 against Houston.
Yeah.
Portland would end up stealing, well, the first 2 games in Houston, but they won game 1. And LaMarcus Aldridge, Damian Lillard gets the attention because of the shot. LaMarcus Aldridge was the player of that series. He was incredible in that series, especially the first 2 games.
He was dogging Howard. He was like averaging like what? Like he had like back-to-back like 40 and 20 games.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was insane. He was so unstoppable.
And then starting the 7th round, this is where I'm starting to really have to think back. But I was lucky enough to remember. So I want to say this was 2012, 2013-ish. Nicholas Batum hit a like fadeaway corner game winner against Cleveland. That's easily forgotten because Portland wasn't very good at the time, but it was a crazy shot.
Yeah, I remember seeing that play.
So I'm going to take that because I think that's a very underrated play. Start the 7th
round. Let's see. So, sorry. I think for mine, I'm going to go with the quadruple overtime game against Denver, game 3 back a couple years ago. That kick out to Rodney Hood when Rodney came off the bench and became that kind of scorching hot shooter there in that 4th period. And he hit that 3-pointer to put us up permanently for good in that game. And we ended up winning the series. And obviously we would not have won that series, I don't think, had we not won that game. So
yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, I think can't go wrong with that one. John's got 2 in a row for the 8th and 9th rounds.
Woo! So
we are blazing through this draft.
My first pick is going to be kind of my first one actually is going to be when Lillard crossed Alfonso McKinney in the playoffs a couple years ago in the Western Conference Final. He sent him flying the other direction. He was so wide. You hear the announcer like laughing. So I mean, you gotta do that as my first one. And that's my second pick.
Guys, how many rounds have we done?
This is starting the 9th.
Okay.
No, this is starting the 8th.
I'm going to count real quick, guys.
Count.
We have.
I'm like writing down.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. This is starting the 8th round.
Okay, perfect. That is what I have too. That means I'm correct, and that is good.
I'm glad you had the answer all along. I'm glad you had the answer all along before I counted, John.
We have a high intelligence threshold here at the Live Starters.
So my next pick is going to be kind of another one of those obscure plays because it's a game where we rested all of our players, but there was I believe it's 2016-17 or 17-18 against the Spurs. Myers Leonard kicked a ball that was being dribbled and it landed in Noah Vonleh's lap, who had a wide open layup as time expired for a 1-point victory. So I got to give props to Vonleh.
Wait, we were at that game, weren't we, John?
I wasn't.
I was at that game with you, Kendall.
Oh, is that what it was? Yes, I remember
Yeah.
now. That was also the game where Jonathan Simmons had that massive dunk over Myers Leonard, right?
He destroyed him.
That was one of the best dunks I've ever seen. Honestly, that should make my top 10 list.
Well, Kendall, you're in the middle of the eighth round. Eighth round for those listening and keeping track at home.
Oh, I'm glad that
Which
we're
round?
in the 8th round.
Oh, good. I have that. Yep.
Yeah. Just to help you out, John. We'll make sure we point that out. This one probably should be higher, and I don't think we've hit it yet. But CJ's shot to put us up 98-95 over Denver in game 7 over Torrey Craig. That was nasty over such a good defender in Torrey Craig, and ended up being kind of the game-winning shot for us to go to our first Western Conference final. And geez, what was the last time we had gone there since
2000?
The 2000.
So 18 years.
Yeah, 2000. So, yeah, that was a pretty big shot. Probably should be higher.
Probably. But, James crossover on McKinney was good too.
It was pretty good.
Hey.
To close the 8th round, I'm going to keep my LaMarcus Aldridge. That era honestly was my favorite stretch of Blazers basketball. Dame, Wes, Batum, Lopez, and Aldridge. So just kind of, I don't think this was a little bit before that era, but roughly around that era, LaMarcus Aldridge hit a buzzer-beating game winner at home against Dallas. Beautiful turnaround shot to win it. Perfect lob inbounds pass from, I think it was Batum. So I will take that. Aldridge's game winner on Dallas. That was a big moment for him too, to hit a game winner. He honestly kind of struggled with his clutch shots a lot at one point in his career. Brandon Roy was kind of the closer. And then when Aldridge was thrust into that role before Damian Lillard arrived, he kind of struggled a little bit, but then he ended up hitting. He actually hit 2 buzzer beaters against Dallas. Spoilers, I guess, if someone takes that eventually. But,
yeah, back-to-back years.
I'm going to take the one at home. I thought that was the more exciting play. Pivot back to CJ McCollum. I want to say it was 2-3 years ago. He put Dante DiVincenzo on skates.
Yeah.
Like a real ankle breaker. And then that patented CJ McCollum floater. So I will start the 9th round with CJ's floater on Dante DiVincenzo. Take note.
Good thing.
We got to write this down. Write that down.
To be quite honest, I forgot that I even had that in my hands. Yes, the inevitable multitasking. Once
the inevitable.
We will just edit that one out. That might be the greatest play for somebody watching this if you're one of our 26 subscribers.
Yeah, probably. Screen capturing Kendall's credit card.
Mom, write that down. Send it to me.
Wait, is it my turn?
It is middle of the 9th round.
Yes, perfect. So kind of gets tough. I think I'm gonna go with, it was against the Jazz and Pat Connaughton. I don't even remember what year it is, to be honest, but I know Pat Connaughton shot a 3-pointer. Badly missed. I think he airballed it or just barely grazed rim. It starts to go out of bounds. Damian Lillard comes up, chucks it basically over his head backwards to Noah Vonleh, who comes up and dunks it.
I think that's Tim Frazier, wasn't it?
Was it Frazier? I thought that it was Dame.
I thought it was. Wasn't that like Tim Frazier, like over the backboard, right?
I think John might be right.
That might have been Tim. You know what?
He
I
like
think that
chucks
was Tim
it like
Frazier. I thought that was
way
zero,
over the
but
backboard, and then
those of you watching this on YouTube after we've edited this with the plays going side by side are going to laugh at whatever the result of this is because you're seeing the play in real time.
Yes, and not my card.
That's where we're gonna put the play.
Over Kendall's left shoulder.
Yeah.
Damn, that was gonna be my next pick, so that frustrates me.
Well, John has 2. These are John's last 2 picks, actually. Closing the 9th round, starting the 10th. Very interesting.
Wow. So many good options. So many. I would say my next play is going to be I'll go old school. I'll go at least the first Dame dunk I remember. He packed one his rookie year on Nene. We end up losing the game.
good call.
Beal hit a
Yeah.
game winner. We end up losing at the buzzer. But Dame had a huge dunk on Nene.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I remember watching that game on some legal basketball watching sites.
Yes, we like to keep things legal.
We do.
Yes, we do. And for my last play, it's one of my favorite all-time Blazer plays. It's a game that I again watched on a legal site. It was a very obscure play. I remember the dude's names for some reason. Sacramento had a dude named Ray McCallum that scored like 30 on us in one game in Portland, which was foul. And he ended up like taking the lead with like 10 seconds left. And then Portland drew up a play for Darrell Wright. And he ended up hitting a game winner like at the buzzer. But like they drew up they had like Dame and Matthews and Aldridge on the court, and they draw up a play for Darrell Wright in the corner. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. So I gotta choose that. Give props to Darrell.
Hey man, trust your teammates. Trust your teammates.
I can't wait to see whatever plays we don't draft that were in favor of a Darrell Wright game winner.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I stand by it. 100%.
For as much as we complain, granted, this is because we have Damian Lillard. For as much as we complain about the Blazers, we have a lot of game winners in the last 10 years.
Yes, that's a lot of game winners.
Kendall, what's your last pick?
Well, speaking of game winners, we have CJ's game winner over the Dallas Mavericks.
Nice.
When he got the ball from out of bounds, got that little floater, 0.3 seconds left, and it's probably one of his first game winners, if not his first game winner, because CJ doesn't have that many. That might be one of his only few that I can think of.
Why doesn't he get the ball late in games?
I don't know. They should really give it to him more.
Yeah,
Best
come
option.
on, guys.
All right. Well, to close out this draft, I figured that this would last to the last pick, and I was correct. Technically, you could also consider this a game winner, and that is how I will close this draft. In 2016, in Game 6 against the Los Angeles Clippers, Mason Plumlee hit 2 free throws to give Portland a 2-point lead against a Clippers team that did not have either Chris Paul or Blake Griffin. But nonetheless, Blazers fans tend to forget that Mason Plumlee free throws gave Portland the advantage in a series-clinching win.
Mace in your face.
So I'm going to take Mason Plumlee's free throws as the final pick of this draft.
That is a great pick. I did not know that he hit free throws. I did not watch that game, unfortunately. I do remember seeing Austin Rivers' bloody face.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure Austin Rivers had the last shot from half court or something to try and win
did.
it.
He had 30 that game or something. He dominated. I mean, they needed everything. They had no players left.
Right.
Oh, it just shows how many ballers are in the NBA that you can get guys like Austin Rivers, Facu Campazzo just coming off the
Darrell
bench.
Wright.
Darrell Wright.
How do you guys feel
Stephen
about
Curry.
the lineup of plays you picked?
I feel great. Mine are all obscure, so I feel like I've won this draft.
Well,
I feel kind of empty not having picked one with Steve Blake, but I guess they're okay.
yeah, that's fair.
Damn, Steve didn't get in here.
Yeah.
Well, we will
Maybe next time,
post
Steve.
these plays in a graphic on Instagram. You guys can let us know who won this draft. An absolute bevy. I'm going to count again how many, not just game winners, but how many plays of these are Damian Lillard. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the 30 plays are by one man, Damian Lillard, which is actually less than I expected.
Less than I expected. I expected it to be 16, 17. Good
Yep.
work, us.
Not too bad. We got a good mixture in there of a very honestly respectable 4 plays or 5 plays go to CJ McCollum. LaMarcus
Okay.
Aldridge with 2 plays. Andre Miller with 2 plays. Nick
Vonleh with a
Batum,
play.
2 plays. Vonleh with 2 plays.
Yeah.
So yeah, very evenly done. Good job.
I mean,
us.
to be fair, the Vonleh one was probably more Tim Frazier than anything, but
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Couple Nick Batum plays in there. Like I said, we'll post that on Instagram, and coming up soon, we will have a preview of the NBA season. So make sure to stay tuned for that in a future episode, and make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And we're on social media as well, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at YBallStarters. This has been, I don't know how many episodes we've done at this point. I'm losing track, but
30 something.
it's however many. We'll figure it out. And thank you so much for listening. Everyone listening, have a great rest of your day.
Peace.
Peace.